Lancaster Township Zoning Hearing Board, and I would ask Board Member Hall to read the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Tonight we have one matter of old business. Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, has requested an extension of 6 months. We have two matters of new business. The first, Christopher Lipinski has applied for variances to permit a coffee shop at 901 East Orange Street. In the second, Thomas Borghetti Burger Development has applied for a variance to permit a development sign exceeding the 20 square foot maximum area at 1896 Millersville Road.
I would now ask Board Member Locurto to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have minutes that were submitted for the March 24, 2026 meeting. Having looked at a draft of those, are there any supplementations or revisions to that draft? Hearing none, I would move that it be made a part of the permanent record of the board.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Yoder, I think we can move ahead then, I guess, with the extension for,
You handle it administratively, unless there's somebody here.
I would say, anybody here for, yes?
Cellco.
Good evening, board members, distinguished members. My name is Brian Gabriel. I'm here on behalf of Cellco, doing business as Verizon Wireless, and this is in regard to our request or application to extend the permitting period. And I would like to just call one witness in support of that.
Okay.
This is Mr. Greg Stefano.
You got sworn in?
Yeah,
Great.
go ahead, Steve.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you please spell your last name for me?
Sure, D-E-S-T-E-F-A-N-O.
Thank you.
Sure.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sure, D-E-S-T-E-F-A-N-O. The Stefano.
Thanks.
Good evening, Mr. DeStefano. You already spelled your name for the record. Could you please tell me who you are employed by?
Network Building and Consulting,
And what is the business address of Network Building and Consulting?
1777 Century Parkway, Bluebell, PA 19422.
And if I refer to Network Building Consulting as MB&C, will you know what I'm
Yes.
speaking of? Okay. And what is your occupation with MB&C?
I am a program manager.
And can you just elaborate as to what a program manager does?
Sure, so I oversee the Verizon Wireless new site build program in the tri-state market for Verizon.
And are you familiar with the application to obtain variances that was approved by the Lancaster Township Zoning Hearing Board on April 24th, 2025?
Yes,
And is your testimony here today related to the approval of that application?
yes,
Was that approval to construct and operate a cell tower on the property located at 1800 Millersville Road, Lancaster, Pennsylvania?
yes.
Was MB&C the named party that filed the application to obtain variances for this project?
We were not, Cellco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless was.
And what is MB&C's involvement and role with respect to this project?
So for this project, Verizon assigned this site for Network Building and Consulting, NBC, to go find a spot to put a tower. We get a lease done, we file zoning, we file permits, we manage construction, kind of take it from soup to nuts.
And are you familiar with the Lancaster Township zoning ordinance provision that requires applicants to secure all necessary zoning and building permits within 12 months following the approval date of the variance?
Yes.
Has MB&C been able to secure all necessary permits within the 12-month period?
Unfortunately, not yet. We're close. We're just pending filing building permits essentially at this point.
Could you please explain why there's been some delays?
Sure. So after we receive zoning approval, we don't start our CDs or construction drawings until that point, because things could change. We could have variances required, or what have you. So once zoning was approved, we start our construction drawings. And it just takes a while. Order geotech, we have to do foundation designs, we need all the tower drawings. So that takes a while. We go back and forth with Verizon, with our engineer. We had to go into land development with Lancaster County. That is notoriously an extensive process that we have to go through, back and forth with township engineer, back and forth with our engineer. And then ultimately, towards the end, we had to go through stormwater. And now we're at the final stage of the land development drawings, which I think the township has for signature. They'll get recorded. That'll complete that whole land development process, and that'll clear the way for us to file for a building permit.
And I think you've touched on it, but has MB&C been proactive with trying to complete the necessary prerequisites?
We're full steam ahead. I mean, the project's slated to, be under construction this summer, so, this is important for us to get this done.
And while we're seeking a 6-month extension, can you provide an educated estimate as to how long you think it'll be?
I think I think within I think as soon as the township signs the plans that are circulating around, our attorney's going to record them, and then we're going to file for building permits. So I would think within filing permits within 2-3 weeks, and permit issuance hopefully end of May.
And is there anything else that you feel is of value for the board to consider with respect to this application?
Thank you for your time and consideration of this extension. We're asking for 6 months. I'm extremely confident that it will come in well before that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Let me ask John a couple questions.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is an administrative matter, so I don't think the property was posted or advertised, is that correct? And so normally,
I just meant as far as how the process was going and,
oh, I see. But before we do that, is there anyone in the audience that has had any interest in this extension request? Okay, so let the record reflect that no one else is interested. Mr. Donnelly, can you just explain for the board the process that the applicant's been going through to get these permits?
Yeah, Mr. DeStefano's summary is pretty accurate. It has been a long, ongoing, slow process. It just keeps chugging along. It is accurate that it is through the land development, or all but through the land development. And then permits will be applied for the actual construction. It's probably, we tell people generally 30 days for turnaround on permits, and that's due to code review. And if everything goes smoothly through there, it's within 30 days. And then it's just a matter of starting to turn shovels. So I do believe they are close. They have been actively working. It's not like some cases we have seen in the past where they get approval from the zoning hearing board and it sits for long periods of time with seemingly nothing happening. I believe their assessment is correct.
Mr. Donnelly, I failed to swear you in, although this is an administrative matter, but why don't you go ahead and be sworn in going forward?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you've given and the testimony you shall get is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
And everything that you testified, would you reaffirm under oath?
I do refer.
Okay, thank you. I think it's up to the board. Is 6 months enough? Do you think?
I definitely think 6 months is enough.
any questions for the applicant?
I think, again, I mean, this is a very standard request, particularly if there's land development. In fact, the NPC, in my opinion, suggests that some of these deadlines are questionable in nature, so I think providing an extension makes sense, particularly if they've made good faith efforts to move forward.
And your request is for 6 months?
Out of abundance of cautions, yes, sir, and just to be sure, but I don't believe it'll take that long.
I move that we grant the request then of the applicant to extend the period of time in which they must complete the necessary permits and land development process and other elements of the process for 6 months from the date of the original grant. Well, I guess it was April 24, 2025.
Yes,
It'd be an
sir.
additional 6 months, so a total of 18
18
months.
months, right. 6 months from when it
From when
expired,
it
3 days ago.
expired.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So granted.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night.
We're gonna do the agenda in order?
Well, that's the question. Would it make more sense to consider the sign case second?
Are there, who's here for the sign?
I don't mind. I know it's second.
You don't mind
You don't
one
mind.
second?
I don't
Okay.
mind.
All right, so we're gonna go in reverse order here. We'll do the sign hearings first.
Yeah, I can do that. Good evening, everybody.
I will say, we do have paper and we do have screen. Do you guys have preference? We'll just do the screen then.
Whatever's easiest for you.
It'd be easier to see all the participants that actually see the screen. If you have paper, I will certainly take them up there.
Yeah, this, we have the whole packet with a smaller exhibit A, but I also have a larger exhibit A with the smaller ones.
I believe they have.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
These have not been included in that.
These have not, my apologies. They are very
Yeah,
similar.
they're marked.
Here, this is
This
slight
is
difference in the
a
other
larger
side.
version of A.
Great, thank you.
Sir?
Yes, thank you. You identify, exhibit A.
Thank you so much.
And it's just a total duplication, so I would provide it order.
Okay.
John, I have a few preliminary exhibits. to get to the record before we- So before we turn it over to the applicant, is there anyone in the audience that is interested in this application? Okay. I have pre-marked for the record ZHB1, which is the application with a cover letter dated March 20th, 2026 from Berger Development. And then ZHB2 is the verification of posting. John, you've been sworn in, but for the record, I'm going to show you what's been marked as ZHB2. That was the property posted, and is that verification of the posting?
Yes,
And were there also pictures that you took that are part of that exhibit?
yes,
And was the hearing tonight advertised in LNP News required by the MPC?
yes,
And was the municipal building also posted with tonight's hearing?
yes.
All right, and it looks like the applicant is here with representation, so I think we'll turn it over to the applicant to make their presentation. One question I did have is, it appears the application references an old ordinance number, and so I
Okay.
just want to be sure for the record, I think the advertisement itself is correct, but you are looking for a variance to exceed the 20 square foot maximum area under 280-1206B. I think that's the correct ordinance number.
Okay.
The application says 1303B. So I just want to be sure that we have the right section.
Okay, that was in reference to like a previous application
That's what I thought.
we had when we've been in front of this board at the beginning of this
Okay.
project. So further down, under what section of the zoning ordinance is applicant requesting the special exception or variance, it does reference section.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was
1206B.
looking at the, yep, okay, great, thank you for that clarification. Yep.
Thank you very much. My name's Tom Borghetti. I'm a senior development manager with Berger Development. which is part of Burger Communities, and, through the entity Millersville Apartments, Millersville Apartments LLC, we are the owner and applicant of this project.
I need to swear you in, please. Anybody who might
And
speak, can you raise your right hands, please? Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes. Thank you. And as the development manager, I've been involved in this project through, due diligence. I'm responsible for design and entitlements of, all of our new construction projects. I am also a licensed civil engineer. So I don't know if it's appropriate at this time, would I be able to qualify and be accepted by the board as an expert in civil engineering as well as the developer for the project?
Could you provide just a little background about
Yes.
are you licensed in Pennsylvania?
I am licensed in Pennsylvania, and actually the last time we were in front of this board, I did testify as a civil engineer for the parking variance that we
That
saw.
expertise you need to testify by the size of the sign.
If he wants to qualify as an expert in civil engineer and he's a licensed civil engineer, I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we'd accept you as an expert in civil engineering.
All right, great, thank you. So, talk a little bit about the proposed property. And this property located at 1896 Millersville Road is approximately 5.3 acres. The proposed development on the project, which is currently ongoing, is 48 multifamily units. Construction will be completed in the coming weeks, and we'll be welcoming the first residents there. The development fronts on both Millersville Road to the north and Honeysuckle Road to the east. The entire project is zoning compliant to date, with the exception of the sign we will be proposing at the intersection of Honeysuckle and Millersville Road, clouded there. Now, as part of the original land development project, 2 signs were proposed on the property. The one, as indicated, at the intersection Honeysuckle and Millersville, and a second sign at the entrance to the community. Both were proposed on the land development plan as 20 square feet. At the time of the project submission, we were unsure of exactly what would be needed for the community and signage at the intersection. So we had proposed the 20 square feet. And as we got into design and submitted an application, Mr. Donnelly notified us that we were above the 20 square foot to our proposed sign. And if we go to Exhibit B, you see a shop drawing of that sign being proposed on site. And is at this time, I would ask Mr. Donnelly, who is our sign contractor and VP of Operations for Foreman Signs, to describe the sign being shown in Exhibit B.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? Thank
Could
you.
you please state your name? please?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Mark Tonelli. Last name Tonelli. First name is Marc. As he stated, I'm sorry, was that everything?
No, thank you.
Okay. As he stated, I am currently the VP of Operations for Foreman Sign Company. Just briefly about myself, if I may. I've been in the sign business about 20 years. Myself, I also grew up in it. It's kind of a family thing. I started as a fabricator, worked my way up, project management, things like that. I'm currently, as I said, the VP of Operations at Foreman Signs. To speak to this sign, and in reference to what we're looking at exactly. So while it does exceed the 20 square foot allowance, I would like to speak to it that it doesn't, the entire sign is not being illuminated, as you can see by the nighttime image in the top right. It is just specifically the copy itself, the square, the logo, and the address, and the website. That in itself is kind of leans into the idea and the design. We have been using this type of signs with senior living homes and various other apartment complexes. It's kind of, kind of leaning into the style right now. That seems to be happening. It's very sleek, very, it's minute in scale to, like, there's nothing crazy happening to it. There's no, yes, you are getting 2 colors, but that kind of, or well, technically 3, but that kind of leans into, more to the design and the brand recognition of this particular company. And that's kind of something that we also want to keep with everything that we do for them. We like to, this is them. This is the square at Miller, so that at all times this is the square. Rather than shrinking it or changing it up, we proposing this, and I'm not, excuse me, I'd have to look back at my notes. I'm not exactly sure how much more we are increasing it, but to the eye and to the passerby, this becomes legible and noticeable. Not to the point where it's an eyesore, but to the point that when you're driving, you go, oh, this is the square. This is where I need to be, or you don't miss it. Especially in regards to the location, because it is kind of set back a little bit. There's a tree line in the road from there, so it's not exactly in your face. You need to see it in order to know where you're going. That's kind of the broad strokes of it. I can answer any questions if anybody would have any at the moment.
So if I can expand on what Mr. Tonelli was saying about the square footage and size. In our original submission to the township, our interpretation of the code was that this, smaller dash line here is what would be measured to get the 20 square feet, and we're about that size with the bulk of our signage and our branding. In discussions with Mr. Donnelly, the interpretation of the code is that this thicker dash line is where the square footage should be measured. So, and that square footage is about 41 square feet. So we're expanding from the 20 to by 21 square feet.
If I may, to just kind of lean on that, the reasoning that we did do specifically the smaller dash line rather than the entire area, was because that is the only illumination, with the exception of, the needed address so that you know where you are on the website. That really is the only illumination. The majority of that signage will actually be an aluminum face that will not light. It'll be painted to look like that, but it will not have any illumination at night, other than the actual copy. That'll be routed out.
Just so I'm clear, will the letters be illuminated from the back?
Yes.
Yes,
So
but there won't be anything shining on it.
Yeah. So the way it'll work generally is that we'll build this as a cabinet. Basically a big box.
So what you see in this image is what will.
That is all the illumination there. There will be lights running throughout the entire cabinet, but only the copy that you're seeing in the top right will be what is illuminated. Everything else will be just an aluminum panel.
And the sign along Honeysuckle Lane meets the requirements. The request is only along Miller's Hill Road.
That's correct. And that permit is in process with the township. I'd like to know also the aesthetics of this sign. The chiseled stone piers were used to match the aesthetic of the buildings. When we were going through land development, the planning commission was adamant about wanting the aesthetics of our building to look like the surrounding areas. So we did some redesign there to add the chiseled stone, and we wanted to also encompass that in this sign along the frontage, so it all pairs together. And as far as legibility, like Mr. Tonelli mentioned, if we go to Exhibit C, here's kind of the standard letter visibility chart that Foreman Sign uses on all their projects. Our letter size on the sign is 10 inches.
Who uses this?
We do, sir. Foreman Sign.
Your company, which is a separate company apart from yours?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
The letter size is 10 inches maximum, or maximum impact readability, 100 feet, and max readable distance is 450 feet per the standard that Foreman uses on all of their projects. And Mr. Chinelli, would you say that our sign and size is typical for what you've been installing for all the other uses in the region?
I would, yes. In our particular area, this chart and, you know, this particular signage in general is very, it's kind of average. It's not average in the sense of style, but average in the sense of, you know, legibility, so that it's, you know, kind of, it gets, more or less gets the point across for what you need and want to see, and then also, you know, kind of attracts the eye in a good way.
So, and I wanted to refer back to Exhibit A. We have a blow up here to kind of see that where that maximum impact readability will be at approximately 100 feet from the sign. You know, you're really almost past the turning lane on this side at that size, and you know, you do have some additional visibility here, but with the tree line on this side and some of the topography, if you've driven along this road, you really don't start seeing this corner till about, you know, this point here. So it is really important to have, you know, a highly visible sign that catches the attention of, you know, passersby, or else, you know, they'll be making secondary movements in other kind of
Who
drive.
prepared that schematic right there?
Our office did. We took the engineered plans that were scaled and, you know, blew it up. There are also some other, you know, characteristics of the property that causes the signage to be further away from the roadway. There is a water main easement running through here, and the water main easement restricts us from putting the sign within the easement. So that is pushing the sign, you know, further back, you know, from the roadway. That water main was in place prior to us purchasing and developing the property. So as you're seeing here, you know, to the edge of the sign alone, you're about 34 feet from the edge of Cartway, and that's to, you know, the stone pier, and then it's another, you know, 7 feet to the center of the sign. So we're pushing almost, you know, 40 feet back to the center of the visibility of the sign, and due to that easement at the corner. Now,
So you're saying because it's set back, it has to be bigger to be legibility, as opposed to if it could be right up against the road, then it could potentially be smaller?
correct. Also, the site in general, if you've driven by, like I noted the tree line over here, there's also a tree line over here that we were required by zoning ordinance to keep, and also another request by the planning commission to save as many trees as possible. And because of this tree line, you really don't start to see our buildings till you're about at the edge of the tree line. So looking down the road, this sign is the only indicator that the community is here until you pass this tree line due to the topography and in the existing trees there.
Do you know what the speed limit is on Millersville Road?
It's a 45, and this is a PennDOT road, so we're also not allowed to have the sign in the right of way. PennDOT wouldn't allow, I'm sure it would be a variance for the township as well, but even with the township variance, PennDOT wouldn't allow any signage within their right of way.
So the size of the sign is sort of based on safety too, as far as not just being visible, but visible for the safety of the drivers and turning.
Yeah, I would say that it would certainly limit, you know, the braking. I am not a traffic engineer, so I don't want to speak specifically to the safety of it, but logically as a driver, the sooner you can see the sign, the quicker you can react and slow down and avoid, you know, sharp braking and, you know, I guess at the secondary turns, like after you've already passed the property into, you know, other driveways that aren't part of the community.
So what's the total square footage of the entire sign?
Of the, I'm sorry, the copy itself or the actual signage itself?
41.
Well, I'm looking at 41 square feet on here, but that's the red line.
Correct.
But you're going to illuminate 1896 Millersville Road, so that's going to take it further down.
Yeah, so if you encompass this whole area, including the address, that would be 47 square feet. The ordinance does have language in it that excludes addresses from the sign area. That's why I didn't encompass it, here, but our variance request is for a sign that exceeds, 20 square feet. So I don't know what dimension would be appropriate to be used here. We do think the address is, important as well. We talked to emergency medical services or management services, and although it's not required, they did recommend that the address be there, particularly since although our address is Millersville Road, our main drive access is off of Honeysuckle, so it is important to have an indicator on Millersville that is the property address.
The sign on Honeysuckle, would it also have the Millersville address on it? I guess it doesn't matter, I was just curious.
I don't believe so. Yeah, I don't recall offhand, but I don't believe so, because once, they enter it, it's got a clear indicator. It will have the rest of this burger logo, the name, and, the website to go to. That is typical for all of our new signage that we're putting up. Go to exhibit Now, if you wanted to go to exhibit D1 in your packets, here is an aerial view of our property, undeveloped, and the adjacent property across the street, which is also a multifamily use. A and B are indicating our proposed signs, A being the sign we're requesting greater than 20 square feet for, and on the opposite side of the road, that property has 4 signs for their property. And number 3 is their most prominent sign. So if you go to D2, you can kind of compare those two signs there. So we went out and measured this sign and looked at this white section and the black section as a comparison to what our square footage was being calculated against, and the combination of those 2 areas is 62 square feet. It's similar large, masonry structure. In comparison, their overall structure is 142 square feet, where ours is approximately 90 square feet if you include the piers. So although we are requesting a variance for a larger sign, it is in kind with other signs in the community. And in terms of letter size, their main community name is 15 inches, where our letter size is 10.
In terms of the illumination at night, I know that the ordinance has tables that may deal with that. Will that illumination meet all the requirements of the ordinance as it relates to illumination?
Yes. As of this moment, barring any changes, yes, is the answer to that question.
Good. On that subject, is the illumination adjustable?
Excuse me?
Can you adjust the illumination?
In terms of like a dimmer switch or things of that nature?
Essentially, yeah.
All that can be added on. It does not show that now. At request, it absolutely can be. Most LEDs, which is what this will be illuminated with, can be connected to a dimmer switch today. It's just a matter of the right one with the right LEDs.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
No, I'm free to answer any questions the board may have on what's presented or any questions otherwise.
I think the board could move to have the exhibits admitted into evidence.
So moved. I just think it's strange to jump 100%.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I'm satisfied why they have to set it back.
So a dimensional variance has a lower standard than what a use variance, but they still have to show a hardship based on unique physical characteristics of the property.
Setback.
So it sounds like there's trees there that make it harder to see the sign. There's an easement that makes it set back. And the road is a fairly busy road with higher speed limits,
People are
so.
going faster than 45.
Yeah, 45 is the speed limit,
Yeah.
but, you know, so there would be a basis if the board is inclined to justify the increased size. If the board's inclined, I think I would approve the 47 square feet, even though technically the address may not be included, just so there's no confusion.
Yeah, that's a little confused, but
Yeah, that's
As
a
long
good
as it's
question.
identified that the 47 doesn't mean they
Includes.
can add,
Right, right.
you know, 2 more feet.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And let me just see. If I can find our standard conditions. So I would suggest if the board's inclined, somebody could make that motion, subject to the board standard conditions, which I can summarize if needed.
I move that the applicant be granted the variances as applied for under the sections enumerated in the application to permit a development sign exceeding the 20 square foot maximum area at 1896 Millersville Road, Lancaster, PA, and to in fact install and maintain the sign as shown on its exhibits, including, I guess, exhibits B, is there B1? Exhibits B, C, and D2 as submitted to the board, subject to their plans and promises as presented to the board and subject to the conditions to be enumerated by our solicitor, Mr. Yoder.
So the standard condition, I would just add a condition that it shall not exceed 47 square feet total. So that would be the maximum that the sign can be, which would include the address portion. And then the standard conditions are the approval is limited to the representation, testimony, exhibits presented to the board this evening. The development of the property, or in this case of the sign, shall be consistent with the site plans and representations and exhibits. except minor non-material changes may be allowed if authorized by the zoning officer, that you would obtain all required permits and approvals prior to proceeding with putting the sign up, and each and every condition will be imposed on the applicant and then any successors in the signs. And then the standard ones about if there's a violation, the township can take action under the MPC, and that these conditions run with the property. So those are the board standard conditions that would be included in addition to the condition that it shall not exceed 47 square feet total area.
And subject to the conditions as enumerated, I would renew my motion to grant.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So granted.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Before you have a seat, I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
And can you give me your name, please?
Christopher Lipinski.
Thank you.
John, I'm going to do a few housekeeping matters to get started, if that's all right. Sure. Good evening. We're starting on the second hearing tonight, and before we turn it over to applicant's counsel, I'd just like to identify for the record that I pre-marked the application as ZHB1, which includes 2 exhibits, and then also pre-marked ZHB applicant exhibit ZHB2. And again, Mr. Donnelly, you're still sworn in. I'm going to hand you that, and can you just state for the record your position with the township?
I'm the zoning officer and planning and zoning director.
Okay. And I've handed you what's been marked as ZHB2. Is that a verification of posting?
It is.
And did you in fact post the property for tonight's hearing?
I did.
And what was the date that the property was posted?
April 17th, 2026.
And are there included pictures showing that the property was posted?
There are.
And was this evening's hearing also advertised in Lancaster newspaper?
Yes, it was.
And was the municipal office posted with tonight's notice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Before we turn it over to the applicant, I would just see, is there anyone here in the audience that's interested in this application?
Here in support.
Okay. So is there anyone here that would like to participate as a party? I can explain that. If you're all here in support, you may not want to, but that's up to you. In the zoning realm, basically you can participate in a hearing if you have what's called standing. That's a legal term that means typically that you own property or you live in property close to the subject of the application, so that you would be somehow affected greater than the general public.
Can I ask a quick question? Does it have to be within the township, because I'm like across the street as the city and I have a...
No, it doesn't have to be in the township.
Okay.
It's really where you're located in,
property.
but you do not have to be a party if you want to make a comment. But if you want to ask questions or present testimony or evidence, then you do need to request party status. If you request party status and it's granted, you also will get a copy of the decision, and would have the right to file an appeal if you disagree with the decision the board renders. So if everybody's here in support, council might use you in her presentation. You're entitled to party status if you want. If somebody's here that they have concerns or questions, then you could request party status for that reason as well. So with that, is there anyone in the audience that would want to request to be a party? And I can answer any questions if you have them.
I suppose I would.
Okay. And I think we have a form here for you to fill out, so why don't you come up here, fill this out so we can get your contact information.
Can I sit here?
Absolutely.
I'm in the party now. Oh, I'm at the party. All right. Get the date today.
28th.
What's your address? 905? East Orange.
Yeah. What's the street we had the house on? The small street?
Downtown?
Yeah.
207 West Orange.
Oh, no.
East side of the reservoir.
Reservoir Street, yeah.
Do I need a copy of the final decision? Or,
If you become a party, if you're granted
I'll
party
request
status,
it.
then we will send you a copy.
okay, sure.
But that's up to you.
Yep.
All right. Sir, so I'm going to just have you sworn in and we'll ask you a few questions.
Okay,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And it's Daniel Falcon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Falcon, can you just describe where you live or how you may be affected by this coffee shop?
Yep, so I used to live at 126 North Reservoir Street, which was probably a block, maybe a half a block from Chris. And I met Chris about 4 years ago. I also own Dynamic Bath and Restoration, so I do construction projects in your township often, Lancaster and local areas. And then I own Dan's Pub, which is at 201 West Orange Street in Lancaster City. And so I just had some interest in what Chris was starting to bring to the neighborhood. As a former resident of that local area, maybe I could just kind of give some background on what kind of options are currently available for residents.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah,
Currently, do you own or live in property within a block?
I do. Yep.
You do?
I still own that property. Yeah.
Okay.
It's rented and occupied now.
Okay. But you're the owner,
Yeah.
and that property is pretty close to this location?
Very close.
And he
Is there
just
any-
moved out recently too. like-
Yep.
Okay. Is there any objection?
No objection.
Okay. I think the board could admit Mr. Falcon as a party. You probably need to make a motion and vote on it, just for the record.
Move to admit him as a party.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So admitted.
All right.
Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, good evening. I'm Claudia Shank. I'm an attorney with McNeese Wallace and Nurick, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Christopher Lipinski, in this matter. I've handed out some pre-marked exhibit packets. If you turn to Exhibit 1, you'll see an aerial map of the property that's the subject of the application. It's .06 acre rectangular lot. It's at the corner or the intersection of East Orange Street and North Broad Street. The zoning of the property is R2 residential. It's right along the municipal boundary with Lancaster City, and in fact, for some time, and Mr. Lipinski can testify to this, both he and the city believed the property was in Lancaster City, and they were providing him some zoning guidance until he discovered that it was in fact in the township. It's improved with a historic late 19th century Queen Anne style semi-detached house. The property was plotted and developed more than 100 years ago. It includes the semi-detached dwelling and the detached garage. There are a number of pre-existing non-conforming conditions relative to this lot, including the area, the width, yard setbacks, coverage, depth of the lot. So it's typical of a city property, but sort of atypical of what you would find in the township and not really in keeping with the township's requirements in terms of the dimensional requirements for a lot in the R2 district. Again, it's located in that northeast portion of the township at the municipal boundary with the city. It's in a very walkable, historic, mixed-use neighborhood, predominantly 19th century brick row homes, but there are a lot of businesses in that area as well, which Mr. Lipinski will testify to. And they include retail, childcare, personal service establishments, vehicle repair, manufacturing, and Reservoir Park, which is on the southwest side of the intersection of North Broad and Orange Street. The proposed use of this property is a neighborhood coffee shop. We have several variances that we're requesting this evening. First, we're requesting a variance from section 280-502 to allow the coffee shop in the R2 district. So I would like to point out for the board that restaurants, cafes, snack bars, and delis are actually permitted in the R2 district, but only as an accessory use to a residential development containing less or greater than or equal to 150 dwelling units, so not as a principal use. So there is some recognition within the township zoning ordinance that these types of uses are compatible to higher density residential development. You could build, a single family development, I think, and potentially have that as an accessory use within it. But of course, they're not allowed as a principal or a standalone use in the R2 district, which is why we're here. The proposed coffee shop will be smaller, less intensive, and have fewer impacts, I would say arguably, than many of the non-residential uses that are currently permitted in the R2 district, which include hospitals, nursing homes, churches, daycares, etc. The city's R3 district, which is across North Broad Street, does permit neighborhood commercial-oriented uses. So really, if you were on the other side of North Broad Street, this would sort of be a different application we'd be looking at here this evening. And again, we don't think it's going to alter or impair the character of that neighborhood in any way, and we'll provide testimony as to why we believe that's the case. We're also requesting a variance from the parking and loading requirements. Those are in section 280-506F of the ordinance. The parking requirement is based on the number of employees in a restaurant as well as the number of seats. We'll provide testimony as to those factors this evening, but based off our calculations, we believe the ordinance would require 14 parking spaces for this use as well as a loading space. Again, the property has been developed for over 100 years. It's within a fully built-out area of the city. And we believe that the parking requirements in the ordinance are really more geared towards suburban style restaurant development, not an adaptive reuse of a historic structure. In addition, there are a lot of alternate transportation options in the area where this property is located. There's on-street parking, there's bike lanes, there's a bike share, there's public transit, and Mr. Lipinski will testify to that as well. Deliveries are going to be infrequent, small scale, easily accommodated, just like any other business in the city. We're asking finally for a variance from section 280-506I. 280-1401A requires a 10-foot planting strip along all lot lines. That would include the front yard for a commercial use. And 280-1403A requires landscape screening, trees and shrubs where commercial adjoins residential uses. So again, with the property size, its configuration, its width, we are going to endeavor to provide landscaping where it's appropriate here, but to provide 10-foot landscape buffers when you have a property that has a width of 25 feet obviously isn't practical in these circumstances.
Will you present a depiction of where you plan to place your landscaping?
We don't have a landscaping plan, but Mr. Lipinski will testify as to his intent. And then finally, we're requesting an extension of the time to obtain permits. That's from 280-1904 F1B. The ordinance requires all permits to be obtained within 12 months of approval from the zoning hearing board. Mr. Lipinski certainly believes and intends to comply with that provision, but we just heard earlier this evening, there are often things that get in the way, even if one's moving diligently. So we're just asking for a 2-year period just to account for any unforeseen circumstances that he may encounter as he moves forward. So with that, by way of background, I will call Mr. Lipinski as my first witness. I'm going to stand and be sworn.
You've been sworn.
You've been sworn, okay.
Hi, my name is Christopher Lipinski. Thank you very much for hearing us out tonight. Appreciate it.
So are you the record owner of the property at 901 East Orange Street?
I am.
Can you describe the property to the board?
It's 0.06 acres, rectangular lot with a semi-attached main residence, and actually the garage is butting up against the other owner's garage, so it's not detached, the garage.
So the garage is also semi-detached?
Yes.
And then there's an alley that runs behind the property, is that correct?
Yes, there is.
And
It's on the corner of Broad and Orange.
And when you purchased this property, there was in fact some confusion about what municipality it was located in, is that correct?
Yeah, the city was enforcing a bunch of stuff that it turns out that they didn't have jurisdiction over, so they left me alone after a few years. Yeah.
And so you were trying to work with them initially to figure out what the appropriate zoning relief would be for this project?
Yes, I mean, if it's a corner property, it has a wraparound porch. If it was in the city, Ted's Deli is across the street, he's in the city. If I was in the city, it would almost be a shoe-in as a commercial property because it's a corner space.
Is the property served by gas, electric, public water, and public sewer?
Yes.
When did you purchase the property?
2019, August.
And since you purchased the property, have you discovered that it has some historic significance?
Yes, I have, thanks to the Historic Commission of the township. The windows, I have curved glass windows, like in the turret of the property, and one of the windows fell from the 3rd floor, so I rushed, and they're about $5,000 per bay to repair, so the whole floor would have been $15,000 to repair. So I rushed to repair those windows with because the previous owner had put vinyl and double pane glass throughout the property on the 1st floor and the 2nd floor. So I rushed to repair that with just regular windows, and that cost about $5,000 as opposed to $15,000. While I was doing that, I was alerted by zoning and the Historic Commission that the house was indeed historic, so I halted all work at that point in terms of non-historic renovations.
And so what have you done since that time to preserve the historic and architectural significance of the property?
Well, the masonry just got done today, so the whole house is buttoned up in terms of masonry. New slate mansard roofs and gutters. I've been approved for the plaque by the county for the Historic Preservation Trust. And those things were contingent to get the plaque were to preserve the historic qualities of the property, which I'd like to go retroactively back through the house now and replace all the windows that are not, of historic quality.
I'm going to ask you to turn to Exhibit 2 in your packet. This is a series of photographs. Did you take these photographs?
I did. That's a new paint job. Yes.
And they're relatively recent?
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you to page through each photograph and just briefly describe what's depicted in each image with the board. For the board.
That is the front of the property.
So the first page is the front.
Yes.
Second page.
Second page is along Broad Street, the wraparound porch.
Okay. Third page.
Third page is from the front door along the front of the property.
Okay. And fourth page.
Fourth page is along the Broad Street side on the sidewalk, looking at the side of the building and the porch.
Okay. And the fifth page.
So you're not going with the tabs, you're just going with the number of pages, or?
Oh, yeah.
That's all, they're all under
All in
one tab.
two.
I just have them collectively
Okay.
marked as Exhibit
Yeah.
2.
And the last picture is a full side view of the property.
And when was the painting work that you described completed?
That was actually completed last week.
Okay, so these
Yeah.
pictures were taken since then?
Yes.
Claudia, can I just be sure I understand, is it a single house separate? There, it's not attached, not a row home?
It's semi-attached.
I do have a neighbor on,
You do have a neighbor?
So you
If
have
you're
a
looking
party
at my-
wall between your house and the house
Right.
to
That's
your
correct.
yes.
east.
If you're looking at my front door, I have a neighbor to my right.
Gotcha, right over there, I see. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to ask you to turn to Exhibit 3 in your packet. And is that a Google map image of the area surrounding your property?
It is.
Okay, and your property is identified here with a little flag as 901 East Orange Street, correct?
Yes.
Can you describe some of the larger community uses, facilities that are in the vicinity of the property, making reference to this map?
Sure. I mean, you have Reservoir Park right there. You have Thaddeus Stevens, which is basically one long block along the park from my house. You have some nursing care facilities. There's Borough Elementary School. There's also McCloskey, about 3 blocks down. So, staff would be coming through for some sundries, I would hope. And then there is also the Lancaster County Prison is on the other side of the park, and that will be relocating by 2029.
Can you describe some of the existing businesses in the vicinity of your property?
Yeah, I mean, directly across the street from me is a child care center, kids corner, learning center. There's Bauer Fastener and Tool further down my block. There's a repair center, and then there's a veterinary clinic all the way down at the corner. And then you have Ted's Deli, which is in the city, right across the street from my house. You have various other hair salons scattered throughout that area.
So being familiar with this neighborhood, do you think it's fair to say it contains a mix of residential and commercial uses?
Yeah.
What led to your desire to open a coffee shop in this location?
I mean, I have a very deep love for coffee. I really love coffee.
Don't we all?
I mean, that is the main reason, but there's no other services like that within a half mile. My favorite coffee shop, and it's actually my favorite coffee in the whole area, is the Passenger Roastery on Plum, and that's about a 12-minute walk from my house. It's half a mile. Yeah, it's about half a mile to the nearest coffee shop, so it would be providing a service for the area. In my opinion, a much needed service.
Could you turn to Exhibit 4 in your packet? And is that a copy of a document, results of a survey that the city conducted on desired neighborhood improvements for the East End area of the city?
Yes, it is.
And does this document reflect or indicate that a coffee shop is a desired improvement?
Yes, there was a good amount of people that responded that a coffee shop / bakery would be a great improvement to that area.
So this was another thing that you looked at that sort of factored into your thinking that this is a needed service in this community?
Yeah, it reaffirmed my instinct that it needed to be one in the area.
All right, I'm going to ask you to turn to Exhibit 5. Is that a floor plan for the proposed coffee shop that you prepared?
Yes, that is a basic floor plan.
Okay, and why don't you walk the board through what you're proposing?
In the center of that schematic, that's the staircase that kind of splits the living room from the dining room / and kitchen. I'm proposing to do minimal interior changes, except except knocking out the wall between the dining room and the kitchen and making it one large space, like an open kitchen area. The cafe would be in the corner at the back of the house, and then there would be seating throughout.
And we're also seeing on this picture the wraparound porch, is that correct?
Yes, I included that. That was my dream schematic of how many people could actually sit at the cafe on a nice day.
Okay, and so based on this drawing, you're thinking your maximum seating capacity would be 34 seats inside and 14 seats outside?
Yeah, I mean, that's maximum. Yeah. Like looking at that again, like I drew this up a while ago, and I apologize, it wasn't updated, but I don't see any more than 20 people being inside the cafe at any time, but I guess that's a maximum.
Who would be your target audience or demographic that you would be serving with this business?
Area residents, students, Thaddeus Stephen students. Their housing surrounds my property as well, and the campus is a block away, and I'm sure they'd like to get off campus, do some studying. The nursing care facility, and people that like to do their work remotely, remote workers.
What items do you plan to offer at the coffee shop?
Quality specialty coffee, teas, matchas, non-alcoholic beverages, of choice. Light food preparation, pre-made sandwiches that can be heated up in a toaster oven. And your basic pastries, muffins, bagels, maybe some ice cream, maybe a little ice cream area.
What equipment do you plan to have on site?
Your basic equipment, an espresso machine, coffee brewer, the warming oven, some refrigeration. Very lean.
Are you proposing any commercial grade cooking equipment like a fryer, a grill, a range?
No.
And will this restaurant or coffee shop have counter service or table service?
Counter service. They'll come to the counter and then they'll go to their table.
How many staff do you anticipate?
I would say 2 to 4 staff weekly.
And how many would be at the shop at one time?
1, probably 2 if we're very busy.
Will there be some incidental sale of retail merchandise?
Yes.
And what items do you intend to offer for sale?
The standard, coffee mugs, sweatshirt, t-shirt,
Gift cards?
Yeah, packaged coffee, yeah.
So that will just be an accessory to the coffee shop use. That's not the primary focus of what you're doing. Is that correct?
No, retail is not the primary focus. Coffee is the focus.
And everything that we're looking at is all on the first floor of the building, correct?
Yes.
And how are you planning to use the upper floors?
I'm not planning to use it at all, maybe an office and some storage for now.
What are the proposed hours of operation for the business?
I'm anticipating 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., possibly 4, depending on how the community feels about it.
Okay. And would that
But
be,
nothing late at all.
and would that be 7 days a week?
It could be, yes. Yes.
How frequently do you expect deliveries to occur, and can you explain what types of vehicles would be delivering to the shop?
The most happening delivery-wise would be bulk coffee drop-off, which would be 5 to 10 pounds a week probably, and that would just be in a truck, like a box truck and a brief delivery. Anything else I would get, or my manager would get from neighboring stores.
All right, I'm going to refer you to Exhibit 6. Is that a letter in support of your project that you received from Danielle Kepperling, who is the Executive Director of the Historic Preservation Trust?
It is.
And she's present this evening?
She is.
We'll let her provide any comments that she would like to provide at the appropriate time. So I'd like to walk with you through the individual requests with the board. Again, the first request is for a variance to operate the coffee shop. I think we've described that in detail. The second request is to the parking and loading requirements. So based on the maximum number of seats that you think would be feasible, it's your understanding that 14 parking spaces would be required, correct?
Based on maximum seating, yes.
Okay. So potentially slightly less than that if you're really looking at 20 seats inside like you testified to this evening.
Yeah.
And you don't have any on-site parking available, correct?
Not currently, no.
Can you explain what transportation and parking opportunities are available in the vicinity of the property?
I mean, I've documented throughout the past month or two, there's plenty of on-street parking during the day in front of the house. I have many photos. Easily 20 cars could park between 7 and 3 p.m. There is, next to Reservoir Park, there is a public parking lot that the Common Wheel uses for some of their spaces. It's got 54 parking spaces, I believe, and it's never more than half full. You know.
What is the Common Wheel?
Common Wheel is up in the park. It's a building that they use for bike repair, like bike classes. And so the city allows them to use this parking, public parking lot, free public parking lot, for their business. And yeah.
If you turn to Exhibit 7 in your packet, are those photographs that you took of the parking lot that you're talking about right now?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, and there's 2 photographs there, correct?
Yes.
And both show a number of, vacant available spaces
Yeah.
in that lot.
And that's in the middle of the day, on any day usually.
Do you know approximately when those pictures were taken?
That was probably taken around 1 p.m. About a week and a half ago. I don't have the exact date, I'm sorry.
Are there any other facilities, bike share, public transit?
Yeah, the Red Rose bus runs right past my house. There's a bike sharing kind of kiosk next to Reservoir Park. And that parking lot is probably 200 feet from my house, down Orange Street.
What arrangements would you make to use that with Common Wheel, or is that not something you feel you would have to do?
Common Wheel's not using all 54 spaces. I think they just.
So it's not their parking area?
No. It's
Attendant
Lancaster
to the park?
City's parking lot. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if I had to, I could try to make arrangements with the city and maybe put up a sign. Yeah.
As far as you're aware, it's unrestricted.
As far as I'm aware, if you want to get a cup of coffee, you can park there and come over to my shop for a few hours.
Did you talk to neighboring property owners and businesses about shared parking opportunities to try to address this?
I have as a contingency, yes.
Okay. And did you find a neighboring property owner who is willing to offer you some parking if that is required by the board?
I have.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to turn to Exhibit 8 in your packet. Is that a letter from that property owner indicating that she's willing to work with you on a parking arrangement?
It is. It's a letter from Ramona, the owner of the property at 113 North Broad Street, and there's a triangular plot of land behind her property that has a parking pad with up to 6 parking spaces that she's agreed to lease to me if necessary.
And so her property would be identified with the light blue outline, correct?
Yes.
And
yes,
then,
and her land as well.
right, and the triangle of land that she owns. And then your property is immediately south of hers on the far westernmost side of the page, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to use this parking area, or your employees or customers were to use this, they would go back the alley that extends off North Broad Street, and then they could access that parking pad.
Absolutely.
Do you think, based on your knowledge of the area and the availability of parking, that providing designated parking there is necessary?
You mean to agree to a lease with her? And
Right, do you feel for your business? Imagine that the zoning hearing,
I honestly, if the zoning hearing wasn't happening right now, I would honestly say that it doesn't need to be utilized.
but you're willing to work with her if that's a concern of the board?
Yes, absolutely. And I have the agreement in place.
All right, there's also a variance from the landscaping and screening requirements. Is that basically as a result of the existing condition of the property?
Yes.
And, you know, understanding that we don't have a landscaping plan this evening, can you explain to the board, you can feel free to make reference to the photographs in Exhibit 2, what your intentions are with respect to landscaping of the property?
A lot of these plants I inherited 6-7 years ago. A lot of them are lovely plants. I have a massive tree on the side of my property. But I would propose to homogenize the plant life a little bit more. I'd like to see some shrubs, some all the same height. You know, just make it look a little more streamlined and more like a commercial establishment.
But suffice it to say, you have limited area to do that in, given
Yes, I would have
dimensions
to.
of your property.
Yes, yes.
And then finally, you're requesting an extension for up to 2 years to obtain all permits. Is it your desire to obtain the permits here as quickly as possible?
Yes, it is. Yes, if approved, I would like to move forward as quickly as possible.
And at this point, there's no indication that you would need to go through land development? You're not adding any impervious coverage to the property?
Impervious coverage, can you explain that to me?
Surfaces like, you know, paved surfaces?
Like knocking down my garage and creating a parking pad?
Correct.
Something like that? No, not immediately, if I don't have to.
You're not changing any exterior walls?
No.
And everything's going to be interior?
Most exterior work has been done already.
And have you approached any of your neighbors about the use of the property?
Yes, I have.
And who specifically did you talk to and what
Well,
feedback?
I spoke to my direct next door neighbor initially, first and foremost, and I have their blessing in terms of having a cafe there.
That's the neighbor that is attached?
Yes, like right to the right of my front door, yes.
And he or she indicated they didn't have any concerns?
No. I mean, we addressed any concerns. They're like, you're not going to be open all night. I'm like, no, we close at 3 or 4. We're just serving coffee. And my neighbor, her father owns a property, is 88 years old. The daughter, Taki, owns a hair salon across the street in the city, down the street from Ted's Deli. So she understands business operation and gave me its blessing, her blessing.
Okay, and I'm going to refer you then to Exhibit 6, which are a series of letters that you collected from neighbors, members of the community supporting the application. Starting with the first one, Cooper Lindy, what is his?
Nine.
I'm sorry, Nine. What is his relationship to the property? How do you know Mr. Lindy?
Well, I mean, he's a biker. He was biking by, and he was really enjoying my paint color. And he's like, "Wow, that's a wild paint color." And then he saw the zoning notice, and he's like, "Is the zoning for the paint?" I was like, "No, I'm trying to open up a cafe." And I mean, I can read a little bit of his. "I love your vision and support it. Feel free to forward this note on to the zoning officer. Share at the zoning meeting. East side of Lancaster Township could use a solid third space like the cafe you are proposing, as there is currently no cafe on this side of town in the township. In conversation with neighbors, this has come up where we have said, boy, it would be good to have a cafe/coffee shop in the neighborhood. That is exactly what you are set out to do. I believe the corner of Broad and Orange is an ideal location as it provides good visibility, easy to walk to, and will provide a nice welcome into the township/city. You have my support. Look forward to seeing it coming to fruition."
Okay, and then there's also a letter of support from the owner of the property at 915 East Orange Street, is that correct?
Yes, and then 925, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think they're indicating, several of them indicate 915. So we have
Yes.
Michaela Briggs, Anna Feliciano, and Sheila Summerford.
Yes, and then we have that fifth letter from the owner at 925, I believe.
So these are just people in the immediate vicinity,
929, yes.
immediate vicinity of the property that you spoke to that indicated their support for the project?
Yeah. People that live on East Orange Street.
Is there anything else you want to share with the board about your project?
I think we covered a lot. One of the other reasons why I want to convert this into a business is that it's a beautiful property. I love it dearly. But the Broad Street in East Orange is a very busy intersection. Between 7 and 9, it's very loud. And between 4 and 6, there's a lot of trucks. There's a lot, there's just a lot of traffic. So as a, restful forever home, it's not quite ideal, and I think that it is much better suited as a business. And that's why I've gone through all this effort.
We're happy to answer any questions that the board has.
I have just a couple. Do you have experience in this business?
In coffee?
In coffee and running a business, a small business?
I run, I'm a project manager in live event production, so I run crews like from 50 to 130 people. I think my largest crew was 323 people at one point. So running a small business like that would not be incredibly challenging for me. I have education in coffee. I'm not an expert by any means, but I know a lot of people in Lancaster City, baristas and shop owners and roasters that have helped me in my education and are willing to work with me.
Thank you.
One question that I have is, if the property is sold, and somebody else wants to come in and run a business here, would you be open to some potential conditions that require the new owner to come to the board before?
Oh, like the not having zone for
words,
commercial be grandfathered in?
I have no idea what the board's thinking, but normally a variance runs with the land. So it basically allows you to get the approval, sell the property, and somebody else would come in. And I'm just wondering, is there a way to maybe have a step where if it's sold...
Would they have to get approval?
Yes.
From the zoning board if they wanted to turn it into something else?
Or if you sold it and somebody else came in, that they'd have to,
I wouldn't be
come back.
opposed to that, if you...
And that's something you can check with your counsel about, but I'm just trying to think of potential future.
I had that question.
Yeah,
for you.
it's sometimes the proposal sounds good for this applicant, but.
It might be reasonable to consider it like a substitution of a non-conforming use if someone else wanted to come in or something along those lines. Something where they'd have to come in and demonstrate that the business they were going to operate was going to be similar to.
Yeah, there's
to what
some
we're- yeah.
trigger so that 3 property owners from now, they're running some late night club and we're all wondering.
Right, no, I would absolutely...
Limit the grant to the applicant.
I would
Or,
absolutely be
that,
on board with that.
Essentially, right, there would need to be a, if you sold the property, I mean, if it's
Yeah.
an LLC in your name, no problem, but if this thing changes ownership, and again, we'd have to think through how that condition could be worded, but it would allow at least, and assuming the next party interested in running this comes in and demonstrates that they will continue to do what you're doing, probably is not a problem, but at least there would be some check.
Good point.
Change of ownership, need permissions from the
They
zoning board.
need to just come back in and
Continue.
either reaffirm exactly what you're doing, they're gonna continue to do, or if they're gonna change it a bit, get that approval.
I have absolutely no problem with that.
Okay. And 7 AM to 4 PM, is that adequate in terms of if there was conditions, or would you want to go later in the day?
Not really.
Now's your chance. I'm not telling you to
I'll tell you
go.
my exact hours.
But, I
That's
mean,
a typical coffee shop,
Yeah.
7 to 2
So if
or
that's
7 to
what,
3.
that's,
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, 7 to 3.
Not my typical time.
I can't give you like a rough, like,
well, what I'm
Yeah.
suggesting is if the board's inclined to impose conditions, you would have to live with that. So that's why I suggested to 4.
4, yes. 7 to 4, and if we're twiddling our thumbs, we'll close earlier.
How's the board feel about the parking situation?
I'm
Not a big
somewhat
deal.
comfortable because I am familiar with that lot at Reservoir.
Yeah.
Most people walk to
Okay.
coffee shops,
Right.
bike to coffee shops. You'll have probably a bike place for them to lock their bikes or something.
Yeah. Most of the customers it would be foot traffic. There's a lot of homes in that area, and there's not a lot of services.
There was parking spaces available when I went by.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen the Reservoir lot
Yeah.
empty. Now, we may want to check with the city if, I don't know who, what the requirements.
The only sign that's on that lot is like you can't leave your car there for more than 48 hours. That's all it says.
Why don't we see if the township zoning officer has any comments, or if the township has a position?
Overall, the project, I don't believe the township has any opposition in the theory of the coffee shop. My biggest concern, the township's biggest concern is Chris, Mr. Lipinski and I met both with council and without, has been the entire time my concern about the parking. Our ordinance says that the parking has to be on site. It does allow for off-site as well. That's really been my concern. It's difficult to depend on street parking. Neighborhoods are really vary from block to block, even street to street, and that can change if and over the course of time, property owners change, residents change. That whole on-street parking availability can change. That has been our concern the whole time. He has taken some steps to, at minimum, research where other parking would be. I think it becomes a matter for the zoning hearing board to decide, is that sufficient to meet the needs of the business and of the neighborhood?
We could do some kind of a condition that might require, in the event a problem were to occur, parking, that, the proprietor could
To activate
Then take
the
steps.
rented parking spaces,
then
absolutely.
take steps to pursue more actively and if not,
Rather
then
than
of course,
requiring it
to deal with
upfront.
you.
Or the employees could park somewhere in the parking lot.
That's
My
what I would
employees are
know.
gonna bike there.
I don't think the employees, I tend
Well,
to
the
think
employees
about
would
it.
stay there for a longer period of time, so maybe having the employees park at Reservoir Park and walk over, so they're not taking up street parking that maybe the resident.
Or customers.
Yeah, and then it would leave some for customers. I don't know if like in your advertisement, you can say parking available at Reservoir Park or something. I mean, it might be a way to educate folks, like, people are gonna start park on the street if they see it, but if part of the outreach is park at the park, maybe that helps reduce some of the.
How far is that?
It's about 200 feet from my house.
Yeah, it's right across the street, so it would be a natural spot. I mean, I don't know how the city feels about you advertising parking
That's
there.
why I'm thinking maybe if it was just, if you have employees that have cars, that you could direct them to park there, and that way it's not something that you're putting out an advertisement, but it is, taking care of that, especially since, you're anticipating most of your customers are gonna be.
What if we just say employees to not use on-street parking if possible, or something like
I'm
that?
fine with that.
What's the parking there, John? Is it limited by hours in a lot of those?
On the streets
On the
or
street?
not?
On the street.
It would be street cleaning.
It's just
and
like
stuff.
once
the street cleaning.
Yeah.
There are
Yes.
no
But
like
there's no
2-hour
permit.
zones? or
Once
anything like
every
that?
third Tuesday,
No,
like
yeah.
street cleaning.
Yeah, I don't believe there's
Not
anything
there.
beyond that, the street.
No 2-hour parking.
No, it's pretty relaxed over there.
Should we see if anybody in the audience has anything they'd like to say?
Sure.
So, first of all, the party, let me see here, Mr. Falcon, do you have any questions for the witness?
I don't have any questions for him.
Okay, and is there anything you wanted to say to, as a party to this application?
Yeah, I mean, just as a property owner in the neighborhood and a former resident for 5.5 years, I can certainly attest to that parking lot, the Commonweal. My mother-in-law cannot parallel park, and she always would park up there when she'd come over for dinner. When it snowed in the neighborhood, like, you know, some of the older neighborhoods, it's very blue collar, there's a lot of, 40-plus people living there, and we would, kind of work together, get their cars up at that lot. There's plenty of space. I think you're gonna get a lot more walkers and just people coming, you know what I mean? Like, even if they're just coming home from work and then going to Chris's coffee shop, a lot of people walk, and there's a bus stop, I think, right there right when you turn the corner onto Orange Street. So, I'm sure that would be, if I had to guess, that'd probably be a bulk of your business is just neighborhood residents.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's a positive thing, you're gonna be servicing the city neighborhood and some township residents, so.
There's a huge swath of houses too, like down Orange and like behind Burroughs. There's like that whole community back there, and I would be like 2 to 3 blocks from their houses, That, and the one letter that I read to you folks, was from a fellow who lives down that way, and he was saying his neighbors were, stating a need for a community gathering place.
And you're also walking distance from Thaddeus Stevens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They wouldn't bring their cars over, they would just walk over.
Yeah, if they want to work, yeah, sure.
Or like-
Bring the computer and have some jazz music playing.
Have you lived in the immediate area for 5 years?
Yeah, we just, my wife and I just moved into Manor Township in March of '25. But I've been a city resident, like I said, I have the pub downtown on Orange and Water, and my wife and I would walk to work in the summer, and we both have cars, so I've lived there for a while. That neighborhood, at least from the city side, could certainly use a coffee shop because short of the Rite Aid getting robbed every 3 weeks or being shut, there's like nowhere to get coffee if you run out. The giant grocery store became an online delivery only. So I can relate to, a couple times when you get up, and I've walked, for me it was probably 10 minutes down to Passenger before.
Yeah.
And then also,
that could be a long walk in the winter too.
One other thing I think to consider is just there's no age limit on a coffee shop, so you could have like kids coming out after school. It's another place. When kids have stuff to do, there's less throwing rocks and breaking stuff and getting into trouble. And I think that you'd probably have a positive impact on the neighborhood, by having a cool place to hang out that isn't alcohol, or a mechanic shop, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just recommend if you guys would consider granting this variance for Chris. I'm certainly in support of it, but.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else want to make a statement or comment? If so, stand up, get sworn in, and state your name.
Sure.
On behalf of us.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name?
Shannon Lucio, Lucio. So my husband and I, we're real estate investors. We have a number of midterm rentals in the Lancaster area.
Do you have any in this immediate vicinity?
Not in this immediate vicinity. We're about 1.5 miles away from it.
They surround Franklin and Marshall. They have a bunch of properties around
We're in the Chestnut Hill area. And what we service, we have midterm rentals. We service a lot of people, they're all furnished, where they're relocating from other places into Lancaster.
You say Chestnut Hill?
Yeah, the College Park, Chestnut Hill area, basically Lemon and College Park. think that's Chestnut Hill, right?
I've never heard it called Chestnut.
Oh, really?
The Chestnut Hill Cafe.
Yeah.
Corner of Buchanan and College.
Yeah.
Just there.
And we have a number of people who are using our units because they're relocating from other areas. And one of the reasons why they are is because they come visit Lancaster and they just see there's so many cool cafes and restaurants, and it's really attracting a lot of people. And I know this area over there doesn't have anything like that. And it needs to be revitalized in a way that, you know, maybe the west side is already undergoing that. And I think that this business and Chris's plan with it and what he's doing to it, it's really beautifying the area. And I think it would bring not only visitors, but people who are wanting to move to this area. So I, as another business owner who's looking to attract more of those people as well, like I'm in full support of this kind of business being added to our community.
Thank you.
I'll add something to that.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name?
Charlie Hoffheimer. Probably need to spell that. Hoffheimer.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just add that we've seen what Westart Cafe Coffee Shop has done to that area because we were catty corner to it.
And where is that exactly?
That is right at the corner of College and Buchanan. It's an old church that's been converted into a coffee shop with character. And it's just added
Is
so
the
much
whole
to the
church a
neighborhood.
coffee shop or just part of it?
Well, it's a coffee
performance
shop,
venue.
cafe, and a community center. So they have different other activities.
Great.
But I just wanted to add that to what my wife said, but I guess my testimony is less relevant to the particular area, although I've spent a lot of time there and kind of agree with everyone that the area could use what he's intending to do. But I suppose my testimony is more relevant as a 25-year friend of Chris's and just speaking to his character and witnessing his commitment to follow through on the various plans, projects we've done decades ago together, and just, you know, here to give my support and attest to him personally. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Any other comments? Yes.
I was just going to say, I'm willing to answer any questions about the historic nature of the property.
And for the record, your name?
Danielle Kepperling. I'm the Executive Director of the Historic Preservation Trust of Lancaster County.
And why don't we swear you in?
Yes. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. And I think the first time we spoke, I told him that I've loved that building since I was like in middle school, so that probably was like a preview to my life. But if there's any questions about the historic nature or adaptive reuse, I'm happy to answer those.
I do have one question. In your opinion, does the historic nature make it a unique property that this would allow the finances to hopefully, continue to maintain it, the historic nature of it?
Yes, and that is one of the reasons that we really support adaptive reuse, because oftentimes historic properties are expensive to maintain, and to be able to convert it into another use allows it to be preserved then.
Okay, thank you.
That's good.
I have a few other conditions to maybe run by the applicant and the board. So, no commercial kitchen except equipment for heating sandwiches and preparing coffee and other beverages, is that what you said?
Refrigeration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only accessory retail sales allowed, so that would only be, like you testified, mugs, t-shirts.
Yes,
But
stickers, swag they call it.
And no alcoholic beverages.
Merch.
No.
Um,
Merch, yes, merch.
And then the standard conditions.
Catering?
Well, they didn't testify that they would want to cater, so.
No, I mean, maybe at some point, like, a online, like, pickup thing, like if somebody.
Sure, but
ordered
you wouldn't rent this as a venue.
No. No,
Yeah,
it's very specific.
It's a coffee shop with
Yes.
sandwiches.
It was built in 1900. I want it to look like late 1800s coffee house.
Yeah.
In terms of decor inside, and, everything's very vintage and, curated.
So here are the conditions that I wrote down, in addition to the standard conditions, which we went through before. I won't read over them again, but any approval would be limited to the current applicant or a related entity, and any change in ownership will require additional zoning approval. Hours limited to 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Employees to not use on-street parking if possible. So it's not an absolute, but I think the intention is that you're instructing your employees to park not on the street. No commercial kitchen, we just went over that. Only accessory retail sales and no alcoholic beverages.
And we're good with the 7 days? Is that, for the township, is good for?
Sure.
7 days, yeah, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., 7 days a week. I think those hours make that more reasonable. If it was a late night, then you're gonna wanna think through it, but, and at this point, there's.
I mean, can I just interject for 1 second? If it seemed like it was a bit much and I wanted to be closed on Mondays or something like that, would I have to come back to you guys and say I'm only?
You can do less, just.
I can't do more than 7 days a week.
You're not required to be open.
No,
It's a good question, but you will not get an enforcement notice for being closed on Sundays.
Why are you closed?
So there are 2 variance requests and then a time extension. So the first one is to 506F to the part, I'm sorry, there's 3.
Right.
There's also the use.
The uses.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is the board go through each of those, make a motion, subject to the conditions that we've reviewed, if you're inclined to take action on this evening.
That's the thing, we don't have to do it on our things at all. We don't render a decision.
That's fine.
And you're fine with the township is fine with the second year, the 2-year
Is that necessary?
extension?
I wouldn't grant that.
I wouldn't.
It's not necessary. I don't.
You just have to come back if you run
That's fine.
into
Right.
delays.
You'll find that that's a lot easier than you think.
Right, so we'll
They-
just
They sort of flow.
scratch that, yeah.
And I think what you heard at the other case prior is a little different, being, it's commercial also, but it's a much larger commercial,
Yes,
work towers
Spread
and.
from here to Kingdom.
right, yeah.
I convinced him to put that in.
I checked.
There's a lot of boards.
I
that
checked
say, "Oh,
it
go
out.
ahead."
I really
But
need
it's
2
not.
years? It takes me that long. I
Yeah, you
don't
can go-
know.
You can go 4 months, it's not really, because you're not doing any land use.
We have to pull building permits.
Yeah,
That's it.
so
Yeah.
then just do the typical.
And it can help
There.
you in the long run. It encourages the process
Sure.
to
Keep it-
move
along.
at
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good pace.
The whitening conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the conditions pretty well. I can't think of anything else.
And that remains my concern, but, I mean.
Parking is, in the city what it is.
Yeah, I don't see that changing, and I've seen that for decades, really, I think now.
Does the board want to make a decision tonight?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we could.
All right, so it sounds like the time extension's been withdrawn.
Correct.
So it would be a variance to allow the coffee shop, a variance to section 280-502. To allow the proposed coffee shop, subject to the conditions that were reviewed. So that would be the first motion.
These all can be moved together.
Sure, that's fine.
Because the conditions will apply to
Yep.
each.
So it'd be 280-502.
28502, and then 28506F,
Yep. And then-
28506.1, and we're gonna cross out the extension.
Yeah, I think it's
No,
actually
wait, no,
506I.
What's that?
I think it's
I.
actually 506I.
to the landscaping and not
Not
1I.
506.1, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
It's
fine?
We got it.
Or what did I say, one?
I'm sorry, the I was the landscaping? or-
Yes,
Okay.
that's the landscaping.
So we don't have the extension, okay.
And the extension's been withdrawn.
Okay, very good.
Okay. I move that we grant the variance sought by applicant to section 28502 of the ordinance to permit a neighborhood coffee shop on this property in the R2 district. Secondly, I move that we grant the variance sought by the applicant to section 28506F of the ordinance related to parking and loading facilities. And finally, I move that we grant the variance sought by applicant to section 28506I of the zoning ordinance relating to landscaping and screening, subject to the plans and promises as made by the applicant at today's hearing and subject to the conditions to be enumerated by our solicitor, Mr. Yoder.
I'm not going to go over the standard conditions, but the additional conditions are that this approval is limited to the current applicant, including any related LLC, and that any change in ownership will require additional zoning approval. The hours of operation are limited to 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., 7 days a week. That the employees would not use on-street parking if possible. No commercial kitchen except equipment for heating sandwiches and preparing coffee and other beverages will be allowed. Only accessory retail sales allowed. No alcoholic beverages will be served. And then the standard conditions.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So granted.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I think that's the first use variance that we have ever granted.
And
I think so too. There was no precedent really, I couldn't really find it.
I would say since at least, what,
yeah, I can't remember.
1990?
I mean, we do a lot of special exceptions, but no.
Can I shake hands?
Sure.
I can't wait to
Good
get a
luck,
cup of
Nan.
coffee.
I know.
Please come by for a cup of coffee.
I'll be there.
Hey, good luck. Thank you for helping out the
Thank you very
neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely, you too. I'll buy for a
And thank you, audience, for participating and showing your support.
I do a lot of these, and normally there are not people here to support it.
Yes, I know.
It's the opposite, so.